listen to me. Vatican's what they...
I get that it might seem unfair to judge a movie before anyone's had a chance to see it, but as soon as a major franchise announces a sequel or a cult classic gets remade, it faces a ton of scrutiny. There are often signs that a film might be headed for trouble, and once you spot these signs, it's hard to stay optimistic. Especially with comic book movies, the MCU started strong, making comic book movies a box office powerhouse, and the genre has become one of the biggest in the industry, breaking records and spawning multiple storylines. But with the recent performances of movies like The Marvels and The Flash, it's natural to wonder if the upcoming movies are already doomed. So, here are 10 more upcoming movies that seem destined for failure. Captain America: Brave New World. Captain America: Brave New World marks the first outing of Sam Wilson as the MCU's new Captain America. Directed by Julius Ona and set for release on February 14, 2025, the film features a mix of familiar faces and long-awaited returns, including Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, Tim Blake Nelson, Carl Lumbly, Danny Ramirez, and Shira Hawes. This movie will bring back key MCU characters such as Betty Ross, Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, and Samuel Stearns, picking up plot threads from 2008's The Incredible Hulk. However, Marvel seems to have lost faith in the movie, leading to a complete 360-degree turn with extensive reshoots and a change in the title. Given the MCU's history of high-budget productions, the reshoots and delays might make this movie more expensive than initially planned, potentially impacting its profitability at the box office. Despite its potential and the anticipation surrounding it, these factors could make it challenging for the movie to achieve financial success upon its release. The Crow. After 1994's The Crow became a gothic cult classic, the franchise has struggled to replicate its popularity. A remake entered pre-production in 2008, but quickly fell into development hell, making its completion seem unlikely. However, The Crow is now complete and is scheduled to release in June. That said, history shows that remaking a revered property is always risky, and The Crow might be one of the riskiest. The original 1994 adaptation, based on James O'Barr's comic, received praise but was marred by the tragic on-set death of its lead star, Brandon Lee. Resurrecting this IP could be seen as disrespectful, especially if done purely for profit. Over the years, The Crow has inspired 3 sequels and a TV series, and now, in 2024, a reboot is on the way that nobody particularly asked for. The project faced criticism as soon as images of Bill Skarsgård in character were released. Despite his solid performance in Andy Muschietti's It movies, his design for the Undead Avenger has been compared unfavorably to Jared Leto's Joker. Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare is an upcoming British independent horror film set to be directed by Scott Chambers and written and produced by Rhys Frake Waterfield. As the 4th installment in the Twisted Childhood universe, this film serves as a horror retelling of J.M. Barrie's classic Peter Pan story. The first entry in this slasher comedy saga, Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, was arguably the worst film of 2023. Rather than stopping there, the studio rushed out a follow-up a year later. While the sequel was an improvement, that's like saying a car crash is better than a train wreck. Due to these films' abominable scripts, acting, and cinematography, expectations for Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare are rock bottom. Not only is Neverland Nightmare almost guaranteed to be a critical failure, but it's also probably going to be a financial one too. Although Blood and Honey made $5 million at the box office, the follow-up barely earned 1/10 of that amount, indicating that even the biggest fans of horror parodies have given up on this travesty, and you can't really blame them. Bambi: The Reckoning. Bambi: The Reckoning, the 3rd installment in the Twisted Childhood universe, is aiming to give Felix Salten's beloved Bambi a terrifying makeover. Directed by Dan Allen and written by Rhys Warrington, this British independent horror flick is certainly an interesting concept. However, while the idea may sound intriguing, there's a good chance it could fall flat for the same reasons other similar projects have. Reimagining cherished childhood stories into horror films is a risky endeavor, often leading to disappointment among fans who hold the originals dear. So despite the talent behind the project, there's a real possibility that Bambi: The Reckoning might not live up to expectations. Beverly Hills Cop Axel F. Eddie Murphy skyrocketed to fame thanks to his hilarious turn in Beverly Hills Cop, making him an overnight sensation. Axel Foley, his character in the film, remains an all-time favorite. So, hearing that Murphy is returning to the franchise in Beverly Hills Cop Axel F is like a blast from the past, in a good way. And it's not just Eddie. We'll also get to catch up with Foley's crew, Rosewood, Taggart, Serge, and Jeffrey. You can bet there'll be some killer banter flying around. But let's not forget, just because you bring back the gang doesn't mean lightning will strike twice. Remember those Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, and Star Wars sequels? Yeah, they were hit or miss. It's been a solid 3 decades since we last saw Beverly Hills Cop, so reviving it better come with a fresh twist or a killer plot. So far, it seems like Axel F is mainly riding on nostalgia. Sure, Eddie's a comedic genius, but his recent projects have been a bit hit and miss. Fast X Part 2. Fast X Part 2 may have been an improvement over its predecessor, but it's evident that the Fast and the Furious franchise is running low on steam, or maybe even running out of gas altogether. Despite raking in tons of cash, Fast X barely scraped by with a profit against its whopping $340 million budget. To put things in perspective, that's more expensive than Avengers Infinity War, but with a lot less to show for it. Now, with the franchise approaching its official finale, it seems the budget will be tighter. Instead of going all out with a bang, it looks like they'll have to dial back the action. Say goodbye to those physics-defying battles and driving in space. They might have to cut back on the extravagance. But let's face it, fans will likely be disappointed if Fast X Part 2 doesn't throw in everything but the kitchen sink. Untitled Jurassic World. It seems like Hollywood has a habit of beating a dead horse, doesn't it? The upcoming 10th Fast and the Furious film and the new Jurassic World movie are prime examples. While they've raked in billions at the box office, they've left critics less than impressed. Jurassic World Dominion, in particular, got torn to shreds by reviewers, marking it as the worst reviewed film in the entire series. Despite the hopes that we can handle genetic power responsibly, public skepticism remains high. With 2 critical flops under its belt, the franchise is banking on Gareth Edwards, known for Godzilla, and Scarlett Johansson to breathe new life into the series. But let's face it, without a killer story, they might as well be trying to tame a T-Rex with a toothpick. Wicked. The upcoming adaptation of Stephen Schwartz's musical seems promising on many fronts. With a director who knows their way around music, and a cast boasting talents like Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, there's a lot to be excited about. Plus, judging by the epic trailer, Wicked seems to have captured the essence of both the musical and the original Wizard of Oz tale. However, some skepticism surfaced when it was revealed that Wicked would be split into 2 parts. Now, while some stories benefit from the extra screen time, like Dune, Wicked's narrative might not necessarily require it. After all, a typical performance of the musical clocks in at around 150 minutes, so dividing the movie adaptation seems unnecessary. How to Train Your Dragon live action. Sure, the animated films were a hit, but transitioning to live action might just douse the fire. Retelling the same story in a different format seems like a recipe for disappointment, especially when you consider the challenge of bringing those beloved dragons to life in a realistic way. While DreamWorks wowed us with their animated wonders, can the live-action version measure up? It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Well, that's it for today. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for regular updates. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll catch you in the next one.